The new Wegovy pill is now available through Weight Watchers. Powerful GLP-1 results in a simple pill at the lowest price available. And with Weight Watchers, you can get doctor support and personalized nutrition programs. See if you qualify at weightwatchers.com. Ad not reviewed or approved by Novo Nordisk.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. David Locke is coming up. He's going to join us a little later in this show, actually in our next segment. And what are we going to talk with him about? The season is over. Where should we go? You know, during the season, there's always storylines. The games pretty much provide us whatever we need to talk about. So we're largely set. But here in the off season, with the playoffs starting and all that, there's a lot of different directions we could go. What do you want to know from him? People want to know the craziest things, PK. Which you well know. It's why you put this question up. Elda wants to know, when is David retiring? Yeah, I can tell you that. I have the answer. On the 12th of never. He'll just stop doing one thing, and then he'll just go start some company. And while he's starting that company, he'll probably go start another company. I mean, what does he care? David will never stop moving. Perpetual motion. He might leave a job, but retiring, yeah, that's hard to believe.
Sure, but I think he's talking about when's he going to retire as the play-by-play guy.
Yeah, that's probably true. When will he step aside from that gig? Jace wants to know where Locke and Boone went golfing. I guess they were talking about that during the broadcast. Yeah, Ron probably won't give that up. Ron loves to golf. He golfs a lot. Ron, you golfing today? No, I'm taking the day off. Hey, Ron, what are your favorite courses? I'm not answering that question. Why not? I get too much free golf. I might irritate somebody. I'm not answering that question.
I've golfed with Ron Boone.
I bet you have. Yeah. Ron's advice. Ron, you got any advice on golf? Stay away from those double bogeys, man. Stay away from those double bogeys.
Yeah, for sure.
Bruce gets to the issue. Are they really done tanking? Sure was nice to watch Steph Curry and his team pull out the win over the Clippers. I forgot what it was like to see high-level competitive basketball. Yes, I believe they are done tanking. I guess the only way – I guess the way I'm most likely to be wrong when I say that is the fact that if they open this lottery up to 18 teams or whatever, I do think there could be some team riding the line, wherever they put the line, however they do this, I don't know. I don't think they know for sure yet. But I could see some team that's fifth in a playoff race going, you know what, if we go to 6, we get a lottery pick, and we probably match up with 3 better than 4 anyway. Sit some guys. But even that would probably only be a couple nights, not what we've seen here where it's months of the stuff. I think we're just done with months of the stuff.
I don't see that at all. I think that sends a horrible message. I think the last thing everybody, including himself, wants to see next season is Lauri Markkanen over there smiling and joking in street clothes. We have an image of that with his hair all curled up and looking great. That we've seen that too much from this man, and I believe he would tell you. I think he wants to play in highly competitive games, and so just the image of that is etched in my mind, and I've dealt with it for 4 years because I understood the bigger picture. And I think when I say I could very well say we, speaking for literally tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of Jazz fans. And so I think that with us in the media, and along with them, most importantly them rather than us, signaling that the tanking is over, and Austin Ainge made that bold statement, okay, it was a year premature, but the statement that he made was still that it's going to end here soon. And so he was off by a year, whoop-de-doo. And so now it applies to the 26-27 season. And it's so important for this franchise to strive to win. Will Hardy, another year, even if it's for 5-10 games, the guy's going to go nuts. I didn't want to do that. And so at that point, quit worrying about some stupid luck that you may or may not get in a lottery weeks down the line and then months down the line. And then you draft another rookie, and you got Locke telling us, look, rookies playing them could help you lose games rather than win games. They'll have a bunch of guys under 25. Do they really need another one, whether it's the the 12th pick or the 15th pick. If they desire someone so bad enough that they have to have them, then just give away some of your assets to go get that player in the first place, and then you don't have to worry about it. So you can accomplish both goals. So I don't even conceive them doing that, nor do I accept them doing that, because I know they're not going to accept them doing that. If there's some guy out there that you want that bad, go get him. And so with that in mind, I expect them to try to compete as much and as well and as best as they can all 82 games, and then at the end of 82 see where it stacks up and what do you have as far as playing an 83rd game and where you play it, when you play it, who you play it, all that stuff. Hopefully that's the case, but I think absolutely 100% without exception that is the ambition and the goal for this next season.
When I saw that question posted, the question came to my mind. It's what's the number one thing I want to know? What do I really – and I think my opening question to David Locke is going to be, now that it's all said and done, who does the coaching staff and the executives, who do they really trust among these young guys they've drafted? Who do they trust the most to play at least 20, maybe 25 minutes and contribute to a 50-win team night after night after night? And how many guys – are in that group? There might be one they trust the most, but they might really have, 2 or 3 guys in that group. The answer might not be just one. I do want to know who they trust the most next year. I mean, if you go long-term potential and in ceiling and all, everybody would say Ace Bailey. I think that would be a really common answer, but that might not be the guy they trust the most next year. Maybe they think Ace is still really a year away. What do they think? And so I think that's where I'm gonna jump in with him, because I think there is. I think there's obviously quite a bit of trust in Keontae. I'd be really surprised if he didn't have that kind of role. They could be trust in Ace. I don't think there is in Bryce Sensabaugh. I think there's enough trust to put him on the team and that he will play some, but I don't think at the end of the year, barring injuries, I would be surprised if he played 70 games and averaged 25 minutes. That I don't think he's going to have that big a role next year. Maybe I'm wrong. And honestly, maybe even Locke would be wrong, and maybe the coaches would be wrong too. There's still 6 months for guys to improve. Where do each of these young guys slot in? How much real trust do they have? Because Locke's, he said this multiple times. He's 100% serious about it. And I both know when he says stuff like this, he's talked to other people in basketball, inside and outside the organization, and he's heard it. It's going to be different. There's going to be pressure. The top 10 teams in the league are going to prepare differently. They're going to run out different lineups. It's going to be harder. And for the young guys, it could be kind of a moment. Whoa, I got to adjust. The bar's higher. I got to clear this thing now. And so how much trust do they have for these guys in those moments? That'll be intriguing. See what he says.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that the trust factor, it goes into, it's a wonderful backcourt. It'll be George Bailey. It'll be Kante George and Ace Bailey. And even though Ace Bailey isn't necessarily ready for that particular moment, they trust that he will be, and they know he has to go through this experience. So they may not have the ultimate trust in him to succeed in game 56 in this next season, but I believe they trust that it will get there. And so let him go through some growing pains. That's no problem there. And it's not like they've got a bunch of other guys that they could turn to anyway. So I think we'll see that. And Ace Bailey will take another step. And then probably in the 27-28 season, he'll take another step. Get this, when he actually turns 20 or 21, he's still a baby. And so he'll have that. And then the future is extremely bright, and the arrow is just skyrocketing high. He's not there yet, but that's the direction it's pointing. Clearly, you don't have that type of athletic ability at all. And they'll get a better read as they watch him work out. I mean, they literally can watch him from the upstairs and open up the curtains and look across the practice field in the summer to see what he's doing. And he'll be involved in summer league to an extent, and locally and in Vegas and all that. And they'll be able to see the stuff, and they'll work with him and tell him what he needs to work on. So they'll be able to judge his work ethic up front. To me, the number one question is what they do with Kessler, because Kessler, he has a level of importance to the team in a different manner, in the way that when they acquired Hornacek, that was such a vital acquisition, obviously. Completely, totally different reasons, but you get the point. The piece to the puzzle that Jeff was able to add clearly made a significant difference. And Kessler, maybe on his own, may not be a first-team All-NBA and all that stuff. But when you look at the skill set that he has in this piece of puzzle that is the Jazz roster and the Jazz playing rotation, he becomes vitally important. So I'm interested to know what David's feelings are and thoughts are as far as the future for Kessler with the Jazz.
I wonder where Isaiah Collier fits in all this. You know, he's a guy that played 25, almost 26 minutes a game this year, and he played 59 games, started 19 of them. And obviously they were sitting him at the end, and he had a hamstring, but the way they were sitting everybody at the end, I think, you know, they were going to sit him one way or another. And I wonder how they see his role next year. Do they see him as a third guard in a rotation, as a fourth guard, as a fifth guard? What level did he impress them to? That's real cool. I don't have a good feel for what they think of him when, you know, next year when push comes to shove and they really got to get results. So we can talk with David about all of that coming up.
I think that when you have a player like he's a backup point guard, he has a specialty, right? He's not a well-rounded, can do everything type of player, but his ability to explode, to get to the rim, to get into the paint, combined with his size and strength, that is a skill. So I think we'll see that in this next season. To what degree? Is it 10 minutes? Is it 15 minutes? Is it 20 minutes? And let's not put a ceiling on Isaiah Collier and say, okay, he's played 2 years in the NBA. This is who he's going to be for the next 10 years. He also has an opportunity to develop his game because he came out. The way of the world is everybody's coming out as a freshman, right? So everybody is not in the same starting point. Some clearly, you look at some of these guys like Cooper Flagg comes out. He actually came out as a high school senior when you think about it, because he reclassified. Now, obviously, him playing this season with Duke expedited his progress, but he's at an entirely different level. We understand that. Like even a kid like who was sort of lost in the shuffle a little bit in terms of rookie talk because of Flagg and Knipple over there in Charlotte. But a kid like Edgecombe for the Sixers, you know, I watched the box scores because we saw him play for Baylor. So, and, you know, I have an interest in the Northeast from my roots. So I'm watching as much as I can. And that kid looks like he has a promising future, right? So he may not be at the same level of development as maybe Knipple and Flagg were, but man, if you had an opportunity to get him on your team, you would jump for joy, because it looks like he has a little bit of a arc that is along the Ace Bailey pattern, right? That's a player. So everyone's different. So I'm going to see what Collier can do now. He got a much more of a taste individually. Maybe not, I guess, I mean, the team won 5 more games this past season, but that doesn't really matter. It's the individual success that should buoy and strengthen his confidence based on what he did this season. I feel like that is something that's going to be evident. So he should approach summer workouts like, man, I'm an NBA player. Now I got to really make my mark in the NBA. I'm in the league. I'm going to stay in the league. I'm going to have a third season in the NBA, but I want to make my mark. And I want to show that some of the stuff that I did in the 25-26 season wasn't just a fluke and it was on a lousy team, so I had opportunities. No, I want to be a player. That's the way I would think his mindset would be. And let's see what he can do when there is that consequence that Locke said, rightly so, was not really there this season. Well, surely will be there next season.
All right, David Locke is coming up. We will take a break. Pablo Mastroianni is here at 9 o'clock, and we're going to Vegas for a scouting report on the Golden Knights Utah Mammoth playoff series at 9:30. Stick around. That's all on the way. David Locke next, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Christian's never seen Almost Famous because you and I are both ancient. One of the best movies ever. And Earl is the lead singer. Jason Lee.
Jason Lee. Who started his career as a professional skateboarder. Do you know that? He's like one of the greatest skateboarders of all time. And was like, I'm going to shift into being a big-time actor.
Scientologist.
Okay.
So.
Cool.
What do you mean? Isn't it a well-known fact that Jason Lee is a Scientologist?
I just thought it was a little irrelevant to the story, but
Well known to one out of the three of us.
I don't know. I was thinking of all the things that I know about Jason Lee. Ben dropped this skateboarder thing in there, which seemed fairly fascinating. I just happen to know the guy's a Scientologist. That's all. What are
learned a
you
lot about
implying?
Jason Lee today.
What are you saying? I wasn't saying anything negative about him. I just pointed it out. Scientologist.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Weight Watchers now offers access to affordable GLP-1s. It works for members like
I'm Haley, and I've lost 100 pounds. Weight Watchers has everything I need, from weight loss medications to nutrition support and help with my side effects. It's all in one place.
Weight Watchers handles the insurance for you and offers affordable cash pay options. With our program, our members are losing more weight with expert nutrition and side effect support.
I'm Mike, and I've lost 135 pounds. Weight Watchers prescribing GLP-1 medications. It's been life-changing.
I'm Sharia, and I lost 80 pounds on Weight Watchers. I realized that it would take more than a prescription to lose weight and feel good on a GLP-1.
Better results, expert support, lose more weight, make it last.
I can't imagine doing a GLP-1 without Weight Watchers.
Get started for as low as $25 at weightwatchers.com/new.
Medications require eligibility and prescription. Patients on 15 milligrams of trizepatide had an average of 21% weight loss in a 72-week clinical trial when paired with diet and exercise. First month as low as $25 with a 12-month Med Plus plan. Does not include the cost of GLP-1 medications.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Your Utah Jazz, 82 games down, on to the offseason. You were just talking, we had Mike Weir on earlier this week. Get that wherever you get your podcast. Great conversation with Mike Weir about golf, where he stands in his career, how long he plans on playing, what he thought of Rory winning. And then the best part is just the whole thing about the Champions Dinner and just being out on the balcony. And you were talking about how you'd like to be a fly on the wall, PK. That's a great summertime topic. Where in the sports world would you like to be a fly on the wall? One place, Masters Champion Dinner. Absolutely. That would be awesome. Let's just go over and listen to Jack Nicklaus and Mike Weir talk, and that'd be spectacular. Another place, this summer, I think a lot of Jazz fans would be like to be sitting in an office with Austin Ainge and Danny Ainge and Jay-Z and Ryan Smith would probably pop in. The coaches, I wonder how many coaches. I mean, obviously Will could be there, but maybe some of the assistant coaches would be there too. Obviously there'd be some scouts and that in there. And to sit in those rooms, whether it's 3 people or whether it's 30, and just like listen to them talk and weigh the positives and the negatives, you know. We're old enough. We've seen different generations. Obviously, Joe Ingles came on this show and turned himself into one of our favorites pretty quickly. He was the 5th forward. They had to sit in a room and think, okay, who can play these forward spots? And he's probably the 5th guy as kind of a wing guy. And a lot of nights he'll sit, and some nights he'll come in, and if somebody's out, he becomes the 4th guy, and maybe plays 10 to 12 minutes. And plus, he's Australian, and Dante Exum, this high pick, that could help. Yeah, that's a good idea. And then pretty soon, Exum's hurt, but Joe's. It's like I remember you saying on the air one day, it occurred to you, he goes, you know what I noticed with Joe? When they're throwing him the ball, it's not quite to him yet, and it's obvious he already knows where he's going to throw it next. And he just throws these touch passes. Just catch it, boom, and the ball moves and somebody gets an open shot. And pretty soon he's the 4th guy. And pretty soon he's the 3rd guy. And pretty soon he's a runner-up in the 6th man of the year voting to Jordan Clarkson. So where are they going to slot these guys? It would be awesome to hear them talk about how much money they can afford to give Kessler because of how much money they think they're going to have to give George because of how much money they think they still need to put together the rest of the team. I mean, and to listen to them knock that back and forth. Well, if we do this, we could do that. But if we do that, then we'll have to do this, Yeah. And let's run all that by David Locke right now. The radio voice of the Utah Jazz joins us. David, good morning.
A Friday morning. David and Patrick. I mean, there are guarantees in life. Death,
here we go.
Taxes, and DJ and PK on a Friday morning. And you know what? You're both delightful human beings. And I've changed something in my life. I've stopped with the innocuous, feckless, vapid, hi, how are you? And instead, I ask people when I see them, I stop and I say, what's the most exciting thing in your life? So David James, what is the most exciting thing in your life?
My wife is getting better after surgery. She's not
That's
good.
awesome.
But she's better. So
That's awesome. That's
yeah,
great.
that's the
Patrick
best.
Kinahan, what is the most exciting thing in your life?
I go to the basics to be able to walk. So many people can't walk. And if you can't walk, that just destroys your ability to enjoy it at a level that I do. So I never take for granted the simple ability to be able to walk, to exercise, to play golf, to stand and do the things that a lot of folks can't do. And so I take it down at the bottom level. And if I got that, then I can build upon that and enjoy some other stuff that may come. But the essence, the day-to-day stuff, if I'm cool day-to-day, well, then obviously I'm going to be great when I'm going on an around-the-world vacation, which I'll never take. But you get the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I love it. I ask this all the time now, and I think it's really interesting. I love it because it's actually super selfish. I'm an extrovert, so I get somebody else telling me what makes them happy, which gives me energy, so it's actually super selfish. But somebody the other day answered that their ability to think ahead and their ability to improve. And I was like, oh, that's an awesome answer. So, yeah, I love it. Thank you, both of you, for sharing. I greatly appreciate it.
David, let's start with a question I think that everyone's trying to assess. The Jazz young guys, especially the ones they've drafted and the ones they've been developing, do you have a really good feel for who the Jazz coaches and executives really trust to play at least 20 or 25 minutes a game next year on a 50-win team, if that's the goal, whether they get there or not? But they feel comfortable plugging them into how many of the guys are they sure of? How many guys are they questioning? How many guys are they ruling out? After 82 games of investing, a lot of losing and checking these guys out, what do you think they think about how to plug these guys into next year's roster?
So I don't want to make this – I'm a little nervous to answer this question because the way things go viral. With my my friend Angie Mentic living it right now. So you had an interesting word in there, which was questioning, right? Mm-hmm. Didn't you say the word questioning? I think they question whether any of them can play 25 minutes on a 50-win team, including Keontae. Like, I'm not trying to be negative, but one, the first premise is trying to what we've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years, and it's led to great development, and that's why you do it, is really easy. Have you seen these games these last few days?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Like, we've never done that. Denver, San Antonio regular season, our guys have never done that. None of our guys have. Jaren's won one playoff series. It's the only guy in the whole roster who's won a playoff series that's going to be on the roster next year in all likelihood. I mean, or core guys, right? So, I mean, I think we should be legitimately questioning whether any of them can. Like, I don't know if it's a really good metric or not, but for 2 years in a row on Taylor Snar's dunks and threes, Keontae George is the worst defensive player in the NBA. So I don't know if that's fair. Last year he played without a center, and it wasn't a team constructed to play good defensively. But if you're using the phrase questioning, I'm certain that there's a lot of questioning of whether Keontae George is capable defensively to play for a 50-win team. Because if he's actually the worst defensive player in the NBA for a third year in a row, we're not winning 50 games. I can promise you that. So I'm not trying to be like dramatic or shock jockey. That's an old phrase no one uses anymore. But I think there's a serious question on every single one of them of whether they can play. And I don't think that Isaiah Collier, Kyle Filipowski, Cody Williams, and maybe even Bryce Sensabaugh can play 25 minutes on a 50-win team yet. But I'd also ask you this. Of the 50-win teams in the NBA, how many players are playing on those rosters that are third and fourth year guys, second, third year guys, and then also low draft picks? I don't think there's that many, right? San Antonio being the exception, but they also have Victor. But Denver has 0, unless maybe they have somebody. Peyton's in his 4th year now. But I think Denver basically has 0. Oklahoma City at this point might have 0. other than A.J. Mitchell. So that's a second-year player. And that's a pretty easy ecosystem to step into. That's the other thing, right? You go add 2 or 3 good players, and now what you're asking Bryce Sensabaugh and Kyle Filipowski and Isaiah Collier to do is so much more narrow focused. Maybe they can do it way better than what we're asking them to do right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Understood on that. I get that point. That's a well-deserved and respected point that you make. You've spoken when we get to this point in the calendar that there has been for you individually an emotional letdown and sort of an emotional hangover with the end, because there's this buzz and there's this adrenaline and all that stuff. And then it just comes to a screeching halt and you've had a few days that you need to adjust. I'm wondering, and not just you specifically, but as far as the team, the guys that you're around, is it a little bit different this year, knowing that there's optimism for next year that we haven't seen in a number of years?
I don't think I'll ever forget the day in Atlanta. Like the singular mood change. I can't remember where we were when the trade happened. You could look at the calendar and I probably will remember, but we flew to Atlanta after the trade. And the next day we practiced at Georgia Tech. Pretty long walk back. And I'll never forget that practice. Like, Keontae just wanted to talk, and Lowry just wanted to talk. Like, I talked to both them longer that day than any day all year, and probably more that day than all days combined for the rest of the year. They just, what do you think? And what are your takes? And they just want everyone's thoughts on it. They couldn't get enough from it. And then I happened to walk back that day with the coaching staff, and they were just bubbling. And I'll never forget the mood change that happened in Atlanta. We were in Indiana the day before. I know because I know where Austin Ainge and Will Hardy went to dinner to discuss the trade the night before. So we were in Indiana and then headed to Atlanta. And I'll never forget the energy change. And that carried through for the rest of the year. I mean, there was some ridiculousness that took place this year, right? And it got kind of comical at times, but that energy and that trade made everything okay. I can't imagine what it would have been like to go through the last 2.5 months of the season with no light at the end of the tunnel. Like just begging for Cooper Flagg again. Right? Like last year, I do remember going through it and like, okay, well, yeah, 20%, 18% chance to get Cooper Flagg. Like we're doing an awful lot for 18% chance. And it turned out that actually we really want to get into it. Last year's losing might turn out to be some of the most important because the difference between Ace Bailey and the 6th, 7th, and 8th pick may turn out to be really dramatic. And so the fact that we had the worst record in the NBA and could the worst case scenario slide to 5 and walk out with Ace Bailey may turn out to be an incredibly important franchise moment. So as was probably getting to 4 or 5 this year. So all of that stuff was worth it and necessary, but to have done it without a light at the end of the tunnel would have been really hard. The mood change in Atlanta that day was just incredible.
You have any insight into Walker Kessler, into what lengths they will go to sign him, or does everyone just have to sit around on pins and needles and wait? Because in a weird way, that trade you talk about with Jaren Jackson Jr., in my mind, makes it all the more imperative to bring Walker back. So you could have 3 7-footers. You could go from the bottom of the league, they're either 30 or 29 defensively, every year, just year after year after year, all of a sudden they could be elite. They would have the size and the length. My gosh, they'd be a nightmare to deal with.
I'm going to back up 2 things I've heard you say already today, so I'm just kind of agreeing with you. So one is Detroit this year had the largest advantage of any team in the history of the league in the restricted area. And I think it's a signal of a shift in the game right now. So we went through an era of basketball where shooting threes and being able to shoot the long ball was really what kind of separated teams. And Quinn Snyder's teams with a shot distribution of 40, 40, 20, 40% of your shots at the rim, 40% of your shots at 3 and 20 was gaining themselves a 2 or 3 point advantage every night in the regular season and winning games because their shot distribution was better than everybody else. I think the new age, we hear about the possession thing all the time right now from the coaches. I actually think everyone's onto that. There are 3 things that I think are the new age. of the league. One is this idea of winning an area of the floor dramatically. I don't know if you can do the 3-point line anymore. So Detroit winning the restricted area. 2, the 5 best rim defenses in the NBA. So 5 best teams defending shots at the rim are Detroit 1 seed, Oklahoma City 1 seed, Boston 2 seed, San Antonio 2 seed, and Minnesota back-to-back Western Conference Finals. Those are the 5 best teams in the NBA defending the rim. The third one is the best offensive teams are all offensive rebounding teams, which is the possession battle. Those are all 3 areas are areas where we could be elite if we have Walker, Kessler, Jaren Jackson. Now, what's interesting about that is neither of them are elite rebounders. Walker's above average, Jaren's below average, and Lowry's well below average. And H is not a great rebounder. So it is interesting. We just decided that size is going to rebound. There is going to have to be a little bit of a commitment from the players because they've actually never been very good at that. Walker's okay. I think he's above average, but not statistically. All right. So that's first thing. So I'm backing you up. Second thing, Walker. I do think getting Walker back is vital because you got to see if it's going to work. And Jaren Jackson's a power forward, not a center. Jaren can play some center, and will probably play Jaren as a 5-out center, which gets into a very interesting question of what we do about backup center and how we allocate those minutes, depending on what we think we're doing with Jaren. And that probably will be dictated a little bit by the draft. But I do think Walker's vital to bring back, and I think Walker's really good. But we are in an era, as you said earlier, and this was where you were really astute, you cannot just – it used to be like they want 30, you're going to give them 20. We'll just decide at 27.5 and just throw the extra $3 million around like it doesn't matter. Can't do that anymore. That will prevent you from having another rotation player, and that'll prevent you from winning a playoff series because money is so tight on the aprons now. And so these negotiations are going to get much more difficult today than they've ever been because the compromise of just, oh, well, we'll figure it. And the other one is we'll pay him now and figure it out later was the other approach that used to really work. It didn't work so well in Derek Favors for the Jazz, but it generally worked pretty well. And that is a lot more difficult to do now because if you go over the aprons, you're so restricted in your player movement that it's very difficult for you to be able to move that player, and then you get really caught in a bind. So this is a much more complicated negotiation than it's ever been before.
Last time the Jazz is a franchise.
And let me flip it. That was from the Jazz perspective. From Walker's perspective, it's a little iffy too, and that is, when was the last time you can think of a restricted free agent moving teams?
Guys,
I got to go find it. It's got to be 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So the idea that someone's going to give Walker a 4-year, $120 million offer as a restricted free agent, like, I just think it's unlikely. I mean, maybe I think the 3 teams are like Brooklyn might do it. Atlanta will have some cap room, and some people think Chicago. Like, yeah, I don't really see like Brooklyn deciding to eat up their cap space on Walker and pivoting off Nick Claxton. Atlanta seems to have something right now with a Kongu. I don't know why they would do Walker at that number, and I just don't see Chicago. So then suddenly Walker doesn't have any market, and the Jazz are holding firm to their number and the Jazz are offering, let's say the Jazz are offering 4 years, 100. Like, are you really walking from $100 million over principle? Really?
PK's shaking his head because his mother would come back from the grave and just bash him upside the skull.
I mean,
where do I sign?
It's a really tricky negotiation because it's somewhat built to make both sides unhappy.
Yeah, maybe there's some satisfaction. That's what gets it across the line. Everybody looks at it. Yeah, half a loaf. Let's do it.
Right. So let's hope. I mean, there's been some murmur that like the league kind of thinks there's some people in the league that think it's done, but I don't believe that.
What's done?
That the Jazz and Walker kind of understand where each other are and they're going to get it done. But I don't know. Okay. I don't think that's true.
Okay.
Well, that'd be intriguing. I mean, there was that whole rumor about the Pacers offering up a couple of picks, trying to make it happen, and that didn't go anywhere. And the fact it didn't go anywhere might suggest, well, maybe there's been some talk, and they realize they're in the same arena, and there's going to be a meeting of the minds.
So I don't know how that works. So there's no question. Let's just be totally clear on this. If the Pacers traded for Zubac, they asked about Walker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's just no that would be negligent not to, right?
Right.
So the rumor is clearly true. The thing that I think is interesting here is I don't know if you can pull this up really quickly at Sport Tracker where you look at this, but I think Zubac makes 17 or 18. So I don't know this, but I'm just going to guess that there's back channels. No one's doing stuff without, and this is just logic. I'm certain that if Indiana was interested in Walker, Indiana also had a reason to call Walker's agent on 3 other topics and go, oh, by the way, what do you expect Walker to get in the offseason? Right? Right? You'd have to do that. If you're in their position, you'd have to do that. That just is logical. Well, I'm guessing that their number was way higher than 17, and Indiana said no thank you, because I'd rather have Walker than Zubac.
Zubac this year made 18, almost 18.9. Next year it goes to 20.3, and then it goes to 21.8. And so he's got 2 years left at just over $20 million.
Right, and Walker comes back and says, I want 25 or 30. Indiana's like, yeah, we'll trade for Zubac.
Right.
The problem for Walker is that just took one of the teams off the market.
Yeah. David, we got to go.
I don't know that. This is just, I do enough business, with Locked On, I do enough business deals that this is kind of how you just do deals, right?
Right.
You're calling both parties. You're asking where everybody is. You're figuring out what's going on. You're taking your best options. Mm-hmm. There's zero chance that people in $1 billion industry of the NBA are doing this blind.
David, you didn't wait to do this when you were starting Locked On. You were doing this sitting at bagel shops and doing radio in the previous century. I know this firsthand.
Yeah, when I screwed you on your first deal, sure. Yeah.
Right? Exactly.
Right. And when I told Gordon Monson that, come on, I'm going to make you the most powerful person in town. You don't need money. You just need power.
And it worked in both cases.
I never trusted him.
We got the money later. We'll wait for Locke to leave.
It worked out for you guys.
It did.
My dad gave me a great piece of advice in life, by the way, on money, for anyone who's listening. My dad told me, there'll be twice in your life, 2 or 3 times in your life where money will actually matter. The rest of the time, you're just nickel and diming. So make sure you make the right decisions on those 2 or 3, and don't worry about it the other times.
There you go.
You didn't. You got nickel and dimed by me, and then you did just fine, DJ.
Yep, that's a true story.
And PK, I was ignorant to brilliance. I've openly admitted it. I was ignorant to brilliance.
Well, it worked out too.
It all worked out.
Yeah.
All right, Dave, we got to run. Hey, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again next week.
You guys are really exceptionally good at what you do. And it's honestly, I make it a little bit of a joke every day when I start off, but I really do enjoy chatting with you guys. You guys are great.
Well, we love having you on. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
All right, there's David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz. Pablo Mastroianni, RSL head coach, coming up at 9 o'clock. Then a scouting report on the Vegas Knights. Playoff series for the Mammoth gets underway Sunday night at 8 o'clock in Las Vegas. That's coming up at 9:30. Stay with us.
Just a bunch of guys sitting around and talking sports. This is Scotty G and Friends.
Bill Armstrong, general manager of the Utah Mammoth. I'm sure you've got a lot of veterans saying, okay, this is what you're going to expect in the playoffs. This is how the style is going to be. This is the physicality. But is it something that you don't really know until you experience it?
I think so. It's a great thing. You get to play and test your team against 15 other best teams in the National Hockey League. And there's something about the energy that now enters your building that we're looking for. The physicality. It's a new game. It's so exciting for our players. I've always said when you can feel that pressure, you're in the right spot, and this is the new challenge for us. We have that goal to win that first round in the playoffs, and I think our fans are super proud of what we've done, but there's more to accomplish.
Catch Scotty G and Friends weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
From lashes for days with the viral Liquid Lash Extensions mascara to awakening your eyes with lift and color from the Brilliant Eye Brightener, Thrive Cosmetics is the go-to when you want to amplify your everyday look. Plus, every product is 100% vegan, cruelty-free, and made with clean, skin-loving ingredients that work with your skin. And for every product purchased, Thrive Cosmetics donates to help communities thrive. So every time you use your favorite Thrive Cosmetics product, you're helping communities you care about, too. Amplify your everyday. Go to thrivecosmetics.com/shine26 for an exclusive offer of 20% off your first order. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/shine26.
The new Wegovy pill is now available through Weight Watchers. Powerful GLP-1 results in a simple pill at the lowest price available. And with Weight Watchers, you can get doctor support and personalized nutrition programs. See if you qualify at weightwatchers.com. Ad not reviewed or approved by Novo Nordisk.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
DJ and PK, Pablo Mastrani, RSL head coach, joins us next. We just had on David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz. PK, we wanted to know about young guys, and he went through them. Well, what'd you think? Any takeaways? Anything really hit you?
Well, none of these young guys has arrived, so you can't look at them and say, all right, this guy, we can count on him for sure. He's 25, he's 30 minutes a game. But I think that there's opportunities for guys to seize those roles, and that's obviously leading the pack is the backcourt that we've had fun with It's a Wonderful Life with George and Bailey, and those are the two guys. The opportunity is going to be there, and I get his point that they haven't been in these types of games, and everybody points to what is recognized as the best game of the regular season, and as a couple of weeks ago was San Antonio, Denver, and you got two big studs in the middle and all that stuff, and so yeah, they haven't played to that level, but in their minds they've been playing at a high level, even though the ramifications weren't there and the intensity of everyone wasn't there, and the playoff like atmosphere that you talk about in a regular season game, which is rarely there. And we'll see that with the Mammoths starting Sunday night in Vegas. The intensity will increase and what they've been doing. And this is a team that has been playing in high-level games now for 2 years as they tried to get to the playoffs last year. And this year they have achieved that goal. But then it steps up another level, and many of them haven't been involved in that. So I think they'll have an opportunity to grow into those roles. And I think, we have this level of optimism and expectation, and we want the Jazz, all right, now they're going to win. Well, what does that mean? Yeah, they're going to win, but they're going to win at a 50-game level. They're going to win at a 45-game level. Where are they going to fit in the Western Conference? And we're excited, but maybe we need to temper it because these younger guys do have to go through these experiences. But I think what he said to me is what I was making, or not to me, but what he said to everybody was the point that I was making with Collier. He's got this specialty, right? He can do things. He's not overall a phenomenal player, but he's got a specialty. Well, I think you can see that with Sensabaugh too. He's got a specialty that could be utilized, and that's where the coaches come in and say, all right, he can't do this and this, but he can do this really well, so let's put him in that position to do whatever this is. And with him, it's obviously three-point shooting and scoring the basketball. And now with Cody Williams, he's long. He's got a lot of deflections, those types of things. He's not a well-rounded player just yet, but how do I, speaking from the Will Hardy perspective, utilize him in a defensive rotation? And maybe he hasn't been playing, but it's right down in the end, and there's somebody that I believe he can guard. So you isolate those guys, put them in particular situations where their skill set can flourish, and go from there as they bide their time waiting for these guys to get more comprehensive games.
Be interesting to see how much these guys improve this summer, right? Keontae obviously made a big step. He needs to make another one, and obviously he could do it at the defensive end of the floor. Plus, if he has Kessler behind him, and Jaren Jackson Jr., that would be a different deal, and that would help him out as well. All right, we'll have more on that going forward, but right now we got to take a break. When we return, Pablo Mastrani, RSL head coach, joins us next. Stay with us.